Now I would like to invite the second panel of industry experts and practitioners that have implemented intelligent automation, deliver tangible business impact for enterprises. They will share their experiences with us, and to moderate this panel, I would like to once again invite Rajesh Agarwal, Senior Vice President and Head Robotic Process Automation at Datamatics. Rajesh, over to you.
Thank you, Mitul. Hi all, I am Rajesh Agarwal, Senior Vice President, heading Robotics Process Automation at Datamatics. I have been working on intelligent automation for more than a decade now for my global customers. I have a mix of panel here from my customers and from partners. They are the industry leaders and have lot of domain expertise on this subject matter. So it will be a good discussion to have them here and give their share of experiences on scaling the automation initiatives. Let me first quickly introduce my panelists here. Our first panelist is Mr. Alok Tripathi, CEO at RPATech, and he is an expert in RPA COE. He has set up COE for various his customers, and that has helped them to scale up the automation. Okay, our second panelist is Mr. Asheesh Pandey. He is the CGM and COO, Chief Operating Officer at Union Bank of India, and has a very great experience of implementing automation projects successfully at Union Bank. Then our third panelist is Mr. Ravi Hossur. He is the Chief Consulting Officer at Tower Automation and has over 23 years of IT consulting experience and process automation consulting experience. And our fourth panelist is Mr. Nebu Joy. He is currently the domain expert at L&T Technology Services, and I have worked with him on a lot of automation initiatives and projects, and he's got a lot of on-ground experience of scaling the automation with his long decade-old stint at Tata Communication. So welcome, Nebu. So now let me start. So to start with, my first question to in fact all of you is that what are the key challenges according to you are there in scaling the automation initiative? So of course the organization do begin, they all are excited and they start somewhere. But what are the key challenges according to you organization face in scaling this? And if there is a aspect of people, process or technology which is coming in the way of scaling up the automation. So I will go in a round for to all of you. I'll ask Ravi to start with, and then we'll go in round to each one of you. So over to you, Ravi.
Thank you, Rajesh, and thanks for having me in this discussion. And good morning and good afternoon and evening to everybody around the world. I think scaling up of automation, the challenges are many. I mean, it can be process technology, it can be also related to people. I think it's a combination of factors. Over the last 3 years, what we have seen is automation has evolved very much, right? I mean, 3 to 5 years, there's been a lot of adoption in the market, and people have scaled up also in terms of what kind of automations they do. Initially, it started with task-based automations, and it was very low-end processes that was taken. And we have seen that those are kind of done and created with very easily today. Initially, there were challenges, but today you can see that the task-based automations are very much run-of-the-mill, and it's all there. I think the most challenging part, what I have seen in the market today, is related to expectations. The business and the customers have a very high expectation in terms of what the technology can do, and it is true with any technology when it comes into the industry new. The expectations are very high, and that's also because of the way it is set. And once they start seeing that, okay, the expectations are leveling out and there are certain issues related to that, and then the reality sets in. So you then start defining new set of expectations in terms of the business value that the automation can deliver. And with that new reality is when the real scaling up happens. And the scaling up factors are then supported with the technology. Technology consistently evolves. Like I was saying, automation is not new to the industry. It's been there for years. But the way automation is being done today is very different. And there is a huge amount of possibilities that are there, which the technology is enabling. The other factor that I have seen as a challenge is the way the business case is defined, or the metrics that goes into defining how do I define a success of a particular automation. That set of metrics, are not very clearly defined before you get into automating a particular process. And many times it's only an FTE factor, which is actually not the way to define an automation. Automation business case has to comprise of not only FTE, but it has to have so many other things. Compliance is a big thing. Today, industry is faced with very stringent norms on compliance, be it healthcare, be it BFSI. Huge amount of compliance matters, and that itself is a very easy business case. So defining the metrics, defining in terms of not only FTE, but also in terms of what are the compliance factors, errors that can cause impacts to the business. These are the factors that we should look at and redefine the way automation is looked at by the industry, and that definitely will scale up. So to me, scaling up is just a matter of time. We are already there at the cusp of it. We are just going to see a huge amount of automations, and many times do not define RPA as automation. I do not believe automation means only RPA. RPA is just one component. There are so many other things that come into stitching up the automation.
Right. So I think I can't agree any less on that. So I'll now pass it on to Asheesh.
So you have put across three things. One is the people, second is the process, and third is the technology. Now let me bifurcate each one. So first I will go to the other two, which is the process and the technology. See, the process is actually, the huge opportunity if we see our country as of now. The huge opportunity, the way in which the work is done, work is conducted, activities are performed across industries. Not only, I would say, the public sector banks, but across industries. And the way in which we are evolving and the total ecosystem is evolving. So I think the processes, it throws an positivity towards scaling. Now coming to the technology, so certainly the three ways, to automate majorly is one is through API you can go ahead, or the robotic process automation, and third is the traditional where you use SQL scheduler and the scripting, and you make automate the things as you wish to. So I think coming to the 4 point, that's technology and processes are the positives in scaling up. Now coming to the third pillar, which you have very really touched, is the people. Now coming to the people, yes, there is a challenge on both sides. The first, if I say, there is an emotional attachment to an existing process, which makes a bit sort of the opportunity also, as well as the threat also. And when the emotion converts into an inertia, because the people starts liking it, so they go with the same old sort of processes. And the second, I would say, because the technology is involved, something automation which is happening on its own using maybe the API or robotic process, the main thing comes, the creating a vision in the people, that how this is going to behave. Right now you are doing certain the activity as a stretch. Now with implementation of the technology, how this activity will be performed, number one. So that vision has to be created in the employees. Now the comes second is the what are the benefits of it. So what benefit you are going to derive accuracy wise, and also on accuracy, not only accuracy I would say, but the time factor, how you are going to get the information, the process is completed within the well defined times. So I think in total gamut, the people, yes, on the both sides, and it can be converted on the opportunity. But yes, the processes, I believe, as of now, the what Ravi ji was saying and the technology throws open lot of opportunity for scaling up this automation. Over
Right,
to you, Ravi ji.
right, Ashish. Thank you. Alok,
I will put my view on this that first of all, we have to understand the difference between success and scaling. Okay. Success of a process is a different thing, and scaling a process is a different thing. You today what we see in the industry, we focus more on success, that we have picked a process, whether that process is automated or not, and then there we talk about what is the output, what is the percent of the error has been reduced, or those KPIs that has been defined. And as Ravi has put it, that also becomes challenge. But that is the first challenge that has to be crossed, that making customer happy that this process is automated. But that's not the end of the story. You have automated successfully your process, but whether you are scaling up or not. So when the FTE game comes in and customer asks how many FTE have you released, then that scaling comes in the picture. So I see the first challenge that happens is selection of a process. If you are selecting a process where only 3 FTE are working, you already have lost the case. Okay, you will be able to successfully automate that process, but the scaling will not happen. So sometimes when we sell it or we sit with customer or we talk in industry, we talk about something called low hanging fruit. And I don't like using that particular word. It is a common thing when we do process excellence or wherever. Those low hanging fruits actually put a shackle in your feet in scaling up, because those were small, not scalable processes. So when I recommend my customer which processes to be chosen, I say multiply your AST with volume. And whatever is highest, that's your number one priority. Whatever is required, intelligent automation, OCR, AI, robotics process automation, API, put it in there, calculate your ROI, and that's where you will scale. But if you pick something which can be done in 3 seconds, and there are only 3 people are doing it, so there is no point how much benefit I can give you. Okay.
so I have Nebu to share his thoughts, and then we'll move on. So Nebu, over to you.
Thank you, Rajesh, and greetings to all. I completely agree with my esteemed panel on the valuable thoughts that they have shared. And for me, from a challenge perspective, what I understand is that whatever we have seen in the industry, uh, I mean, automation or digitization is a given. I mean, since things have changed, people in the earlier eras used to look at substitution of their own systems. Then thereon they went on to have a little bit of improvement on over and above what they have as systems. And now it is completely about transformation. It is about completely radically thinking different so that I bring out efficiencies. So what I want to say is that automation is a given. It's not a choice. It has to be a way of life. And I completely agree with the panelists when they said that most of the time people are very emotionally attached to what they've been doing year and year again, and it's very difficult to kind of get things going. So for me, the top of the pyramid, maybe for Alok, it's more about processes and then about people. But for me, I would say that people is in the center of what I feel would be an essential ingredient, and in implementing a kind of a transformation or a digital journey in any company, because you have seen that in the current era, there are a lot of companies who have faded out because they could not keep up with the challenges of the market. So, having said that, it is very important to kind of have a kind of a transformative vision, which is coming from top down. And when it comes from top down, and when you have your leaders talking about automation journeys, talking about transformation journeys, then the line managers and the middle managers are able to assimilate things better. and because of which you have a lot of traction coming out. If you have the best of the processes and if you have the best of the systems, I still feel it will fail if your people are not aligned to it. So if you get your people aligned, which is more in terms of having the vision, in terms of percolating what you want to do, in telling them that when you do this, you're upgrading yourself, you're making your life simpler. Like what Alok said, some processes which they were taking manually so much of time, today with this automation, if it kind of eases his life. So those kind of awareness, if it is created in the minds of the business user, because finally, if he or she is not on board, then your automation journey would fail. So I would, in short, put people on the top of the pyramid in terms of the challenges. Make sure that the people are behind your digital journey, and then make sure that your processes and your technology is aligned to it. Of course, processes and technology are most important, but if your people are not aligned, then the best of these would not make things happen. That's my view.
So I'll start with Ashish first because he's working with a large public sector enterprise, So I want to hear from him that what is his like advice for these large enterprises to scale up, because they're making things happen is definitely a big task. I can understand.
Let me say, whenever we talk about the public sector, let us understand the basic the environment and the basic thing which lies with the public sector. The first and foremost is the legacy. So any public sector organization, if you see in the country, is having a minimum say 50 years, 100 years of the legacy. Point number one. So certainly it means the evolution of technology has taken place over the period of time, and it has become the upgradation has happened in the batches. Point number one. The point number two is that if we see the public sector, the regulatory regime, when Ravi was saying about the compliance, I was very happy to hear that. And the compliance culture is evolving a lot, and adherence is required too much on that. Point number two. The point number three is that since the things are done manually in the public sector, it opens up a lot of opportunities. Now, fourth point, I will say, it comes very core of the public sector is the increasing the efficiency and effectiveness both. Now, coming to that point, the most important thing as on date, if you want to be in existence in this competitive world, the important thing required is the availability of accurate and timely information. And that basically, if we deep down, comes from the data. Now, if it comes to a data, automation is the one of the thing, which gives you the all the basics. Now, the entire decision making is dependent upon this piece of information. So, when you are asking about the public sector, that how the RPA or the automation help the public sector. Now, what I would say, keeping in these few important points, I think I touched upon 5, 6 important points. I think the best part is the public sector space per se, I believe, throws open lot of opportunities in the automation side. One more thing which I would like to specifically mention here, that the manual systems and processes, give you a risk of 2, 3 things. The one thing, the risk is of inaccuracies, mistakes, and let me even tell you, frauds. So there are chances where when the technology is not involved, when there is a manual intervention or the people intervention, and there are chances, maybe any industry, that the mistakes may lead to even intentional or maybe like frauds. Now that is the reason when we talk about the automation, whatsoever may be the mode, the opportunity in the public sector is very huge. And decision making in public sector requires lot of data assessment, lot of data deep diving, and where the automation plays a very important role. So I think it is a wonderful space for the automation, and certainly lot of efficiencies will get increased. At the same time, when you are increasing your efficiency, profitability, the compliance is first. And the automation is one of the best tool, which allows you to comply as the regulator wish for. So this is my take on this question.
Sure, sure. I'll move over to Alok now again, because I think I have seen that he's got a lot of exposure and experiences in setting up a COE, Center of Excellence for Automation. So I would like to hear from his views on how does COEs help to scale up, what all it consists of, what is expected of COE, is it a mix of business and IT? So some light if you can throw on the COE because of his experiences, I think our audience will certainly get help from that. So, Alok, over to you.
In COE, you have resources, infrastructure, platform, and logistic. In nutshell, okay, there will be other aspects as well. So in resources, what kind of resources should be doing automation? And in infrastructure, like you need this servers, database, user system, application, software, VDI, VDM, those things are needed, and you don't have to run again and again for each processes that I require this. Then platforms. What kind of platform? Even like RPA platform, your partnership, your AI, OCR platforms, your natural language chatbot, and other things, which also include that you should have support and training built in your partnership and platform. If COE is there, they will ensure. Otherwise, if COE is not there, you depend on individuals' knowledge. Okay, and of course, logistics comes in the picture. That if COE is in the place, they will take care of the logistics, that how to deploy, space allocation, administration, knowledge management, and other stuff related to logistics.
Ravi, what I would like to hear from you is that what kind of, I should say, measurements or tracking things are possible to check on the scalability? What do you recommend, or how do you ensure that your customers are able to scale up and have some measurement at how they're scaling up, or how do you track and keep it under check, whether all the benefits are there or not? So some recommendation on that front is what I request to throw some lights on.
Okay, and while we were talking about industrialization and innovation being two pillars which are part of the COE, which has to be part of the COE, industrialization part of it is very easy to measure. I mean, already metrics are there available for every process. We need to monitor those metrics in terms of its performance, improvement of the performance. So just it's like a run of the mill. You just need to get that perfect. And automation does a great thing in that. And in last few years, with the capability that the vendors have brought into the products or the platforms, there is a lot of easiness in which the automation can be done for simple and medium processes. And when I say simple and medium, like Alok was mentioning about reconciliation being one, or task-based automations, rules-based, etc. These are ones which can be done with ease, and metrics on those can be achieved. I think the challenge is more towards more complex kind of processes. So that means if I look at processes like invoice processing, right? I mean, in many industries today, the way goods and services are invoiced, or you receive the invoices, it's not only the OCR that is a challenge in terms of just extracting the information. It's about how do I process it into the target application, that without a touch, right? And that is an important challenge. And there is a lot of measures that if you start measuring it very stringently, then you may not see the outcomes beneficial. But if you have some patience in terms of how the technology is evolving today, and adopt to that, and give it that chance, or carve out the process in a way which it can deliver the benefits, then you'll see that you're adapting the technology much faster. You're starting to see the benefits much faster as well. So I think the value and the accelerated deployments are the two important aspects which come into measuring how automation gets adopted in terms of scale. I think it is, again, it's very much at the tip of the iceberg. We are seeing, look at one particular instance. We are talking about a company having 80%, 90% of unstructured data. We are not even touched that. What we are touching so far is only structured information. When it comes to unstructured information, the possibilities are enormous. And that is what these new value-based or machine learning-based NLP, these coming all together can the possibilities start evolving a lot more.
Right, right, Ravi. I think that was very helpful, and your points are valid on that part of the industrialization measurement. I will ask Nebu one question about like the topic which you raised, the unstructured data, and we did work with Nebu on invoice processing and travel and expense automation and a lot of things. So my question to Nebu is to find out from him that what was his. So he did also say that people is most important aspect of the overall automation. So from his experiences working with a large industrial group of Tatas and handling that Tata Communication, which was in erstwhile VSNL. So how did he do it? What was his experience on managing different people, the business and IT? So he was from IT, and we had
and his senior core team was completely aligned to the fact that there has to be automation. And this was like 4 years back. We're talking about either automating the accounts payable process or the procure to pay processes. And yes, of course, the journey was difficult. As we started in the beginning, there were people who were more aligned towards what they were doing, and they thought that that would be the best way to do things. But when you overall give them the vision of what changes can come in and how it will impact, and if you have the right partners, and of course we had you all partnering us at that point of time, and of course the business to IT relationship, which was completely aligned towards the overall objectives, made it very easy for us. Not very easy, I would say. It took a bit of time, of course, but yes,
smooth.
finally.
It became very smooth. I agree.
Yeah, finally, the proof of the pudding was when we could actually see invoices getting rolled into the system, and then processes getting created, automated workflows for approvals, so on and so forth, and the final posting to the ERP. All that getting falling in line, it kind of helped us to now then see what was the business realization and how much of time was saved earlier from what an invoice processing would take to what it would do now, and what was the delight which we were giving to all our stakeholders.
Just 30-second last remarks.
Sure, Rajesh. I mean, I would quickly say that you should have COE kind of existence where you have digitally shared digital accelerator teams that could sustain what you have created as automation, and that would help because once the user gets that kind of a boost and he is able to kind of implement those in his real day-to-day life, that would make a difference. So I would say it is the accelerator teams, digital COEs who have knowledge which has been created, and we'll be able to kind of execute that. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I think when question comes, to buy in the automation, it is one of the challenge. But I feel, in a very short, the buy-in are some 3, 4 very key points. The first and foremost is ease of doing business. As a user, if I see you consuming industry, so ease of doing business. The second is the compliance, and third and most important is, the counting upon the opportunity lost. Now, when we talk about certainly buy-in means benefit, and the opportunity loss, that missing the timing of your, taking a call, it makes a lot of difference. And the automation, whatsoever mode it is, in whatsoever shape it is, I think these three pillars makes a lot of difference for buying in.
I will add on that if you have an innovation lab and idea lab, okay, these are two different things. Idea collection and idea executions actually give people of the organization ownership. Okay, so you should have some way to collect ideas from your organization, and your sponsor, someone in the top, should select those ideas and give it and give a tick mark that this should be automated, and then maybe periodically every month or quarter it should be celebrated that what ideas that came and what has been automated. So it will promote innovation, buy-in, and people will start owning up that this is what I have said and this is what has been automated. So it is not kind of pushing through the throat, but involving people through idea collection and idea implementation.
But I think one of the additional points I would make is on ease of deployment, right? I mean, today we are in a very fast-paced industry, and it is like earlier transformation would take evolving. It will evolve around 10 years. Today we are looking at 3 years, 5 years. The technology should have been evolved completely. So the ease of deployment of technology is going to be very, very crucial. Otherwise, people lose patience. So also the changes that the business undergoes, the technology should be able to adapt to it very quickly. So I think that is the onus on all of us, and it's not only IT, it's not only the product vendors, it's also people from the business, everybody, and the COE is a great place for all that. And culminating to your question, right, you bring them all together and help making deployments much easier, then I think definitely you will have buy-in internally.
Right, Ravi. I think that's a good point. And with that, we come to the end of the panel discussion. So I will definitely take this opportunity to speak up from my side now. I will definitely not leave that chance. But yes, I would like to in fact summarize or try to give some kind of key points which we discussed. Not adding any point from me. But I think the one point came out very clearly that the people is the most important aspect. Of course, the process technology is there, but yes, people, right, like buying the manager, senior management, buying or getting people aligned to your thoughts. And the second point came out very clearly was the central structure to manage the scale up, so like a COE and all. Like unless you do it a planned way or structured way, I think the scaling up will become an issue for sure. And some kind of measurements and some kind of industrialization. I think that core theme was common across all four of you. I think that definitely will give a lot of help to my audience is what I feel. So with that, I again thank all of you. Thank you so much. And we had a great time. It will be a great session for my audience, I'm very sure. So thanks again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Rajesh.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Over to you, Mitul. Over to you, Mitul, again. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was very insightful. If you have any questions, feel free to write into the chat box and we will reply to you online. I would like to remind the audience that Datamatics is offering an unconditional 30-day free trial of TrueBot and TrueCap Plus to all the attendees of the summit. You can register for it from the link given in the chat box or visit our website truebot.datamatics.com. Before we come to our last segment, I would request all to provide feedback about your experience on Datamatics Intelligent Automation Summit 2021. You can provide the feedback by clicking on the feedback icon on the right side of the screen. Though this was the last segment of the summit, how can we part ways without spreading some happiness and appreciating some great efforts of 2020?